Hello, my name is Cassie Harriet and I'm a library technician with the Charlotte County Libraries and History Division. And I am here with...
I'm Spencer Pullen. I'm also another library technician.
We are here to talk about geocaching again. I hope you had a chance to view our other two videos on introduction to geocaching and how to find a geocache. Today we're going to talk about how to place or hide a geocache.
Yeah, so that's kind of the fun part of the game as well as finding them, but thinking about places in your community that you might think there could be one, but there are some rules and guidelines to follow, which is some of the things we're going to talk about. But it's kind of a fun thing to think about containers and what you might want to put in them for future players to find.
What kind of containers do you like to use, Spencer?
Since most of these are going to be outside in the elements, I would consider something ultimately that's waterproof. And especially if you live in a climate maybe where there's a lot of snow in the wintertime and ice, that's something else to think about. The ammo cans, they're metal, yes, and they're waterproof. You can usually get those at the military discount store.
Yeah.
A lot of those are popular, and plus they're big enough you can put bigger items in, especially for the kids. They really like those because you can put bigger stuff in there. What a lot of people use is even like a really good piece of Tupperware, because the big joke in geocaching is you're going into the woods to find a piece of Tupperware. So, but if you have something that has a nice tight fitting lid, that's going to help you, because you don't want all your stuff inside to get soaked or waterlogged.
Right, right. And you have to have enough room for at least a logbook.
Correct.
And you can put a pencil if you got enough room, but there's no room in this to put a pencil, so...
Yeah, you might see in the instructions for the description, it might say BOP or BYOP or bring your own pen. So it's always good to make sure you have your own pencil or pen with you. Pencil's good too, especially if you're going to put a pencil in the cache is what I would recommend over a pen, because a pen could either A, dry up, right, or God forbid it explodes and then it goes all over everything. So usually pencils, yeah, so pencils generally best because you know it's always going to write. And what some people even do is they'll put in like a little pencil sharpener so that they can actually sharpen the pen, you know, to get enough people, then they can actually sharpen it. Or you can put that with your gear. So if you do come upon a pencil that you need to sharpen, then you can do that for the next person. So it's kind of a nice way to pay it forward.
That's why it's a community.
Exactly.
Yes, yes. So what normally would you carry with you to put in a geocache if you're going to be placing one?
Well, technically you don't really need to put anything in there except the logbook or the pencil. However, to make it kind of attractive for everyone, you can go to, like, for example, like the dollar store and just get some, a lot of people use like the plastic gold coins you can pick up, or some kind of little trinkety things you can throw in there, and that's more or less for the kids. Right. Although I'm a big kid, so I like going through that stuff and just seeing what's in there. But anything that's fairly inexpensive. I mean, this is not supposed to cost a lot of money it's supposed to be a very affordable hobby, but there are certain things you would not want to put in there. Some of those would be like alcohol or food. That's definitely in the note.
That would attract animals, first of all. But it does happen sometimes. I have come across some where somebody's like put like a candy bar in there. You know, it's probably not something you'd want to eat after it's been out in the seasons. So anything that's basically non-food item, that's non-alcoholic, that's not any kind of illegal paraphernalia, things like that, this would be fine. So usually it's toys, and what I generally do is I go to Amazon and I'll get like these little metal gold coins. Right. There you can get like 50 of them for, I don't know, a few dollars. So it's just a fun thing to throw in there. And they're metal, so they're going to last as they go from place to place. Now, for the containers, I know we talked about them being waterproof. If they're out in the elements, should you watch out for rust proof too?
Yes, that's why plastic is a nice...
metal, not really a lot of metal.
Yeah, the ammo cans, they do rust a little bit, but they seem to hold up, because I don't know if they're made out of aluminum or if they're steel, but for whatever reason they seem to hold up. But if you do try, like I've seen some caches that are like in Thin Mints, the ones that flip open. First of all, they're not really watertight, and then whatever metal they use, because it's just basically there to hold the candy for you to use it until you're done with it, or the mints, that generally doesn't hold up too well. So plastic would be my first choice.
Okay. What are the rules before you place a geocache?
that they like to see you do. They're not hard and fast rules, but
Right.
they do suggest a couple of things.
Yeah, usually the first one is they would want you to find at least 20 geocaches before you decide to go out and
I found one.
before you go out and start placing them, simply because then the player has an idea of what the containers, different kind of containers there are to place things in, kind of locations that may work best. That's generally wise, mainly for experience.
Right.
And then there's always the property aspect of it. So depending upon wherever you think you want to put your geocache, if it's in a public place, like maybe a park, you might want to contact that county, or
Right.
if it's a state park, like the state, and find out what's allowed. I know, for example, like a lot of the Florida state parks, if you call the main park ranger station of that particular park, there's generally someone who deals with geocaches, and they will then give you a form to fill out possibly, or they may just give you verbal okay. But at least you have that permission to actually put something there, because unfortunately in this day and age, if people see a strange box somewhere that shouldn't be there, then that can
Right.
cause some problems. So you want to make sure that you do get that permission. If it's on private property, then you definitely want to make sure you find out who's in charge of that.
Right.
And get permission from them, because you got to remember, wherever you put this thing, you're going to have people trouncing all over this property looking for, and if it's in the bushes or something, you have these weird people looking through the bushes trying to find this, whatever it is that you put there. So that's, permission is probably the big thing for wherever it is you want to place your container.
Because you don't want to have the muggles.
Yes, no muggles.
No muggles calling the police. Muggles, if you're not familiar with Harry Potter, are non-magic folk that are in the book. Muggles, in this case, are non-geocachers who may be looking at you and wondering why you're digging through that bush.
Yeah, they may call somebody else to come get you.
Yes, yes, yes. If you see somebody looking at you really weird while you're out there geocaching and their phone goes to their face, you may want to walk over and tell them what you're doing.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got the permissions. Now, some of the rules for placing the geocache. You want to make sure that the geocache is going to be there for a while. You don't want to just leave it out there for 3 months and then have it disappear. So that would be like more like a permanent thing, and you have to keep track and watch your report to
Yep.
see if anybody reports that there's a problem. Right?
Correct.
Stop.
So there is maintenance to these, like if you maintain your car, same thing with this, is like Kathy was saying, that maybe the logbook is full and you need to have that changed. Maybe the container's waterlogged and they need to have a new container put in place. I know when I've done this myself, I'll put in the digital log sheet saying container's waterlogged, it needs, or it's broken, or it needs to be replaced. So then we make sure I put that in there. The other thing is, if, for example, we have a logbook here that we've kind of prepared. Sometimes if the logbook is full, generally if the owner is like not going to be taking care of it, I'll carry some of these extra logbooks in like little Ziploc bags, or about the size of that. So it helps keep the water out of it. That's kind of the big thing. And I'll put in the notes to the cache owner, by the way, I replaced the log because the other one was full. Sometimes they may come out and change it.
And you can print them for free. I found this one, I just Googled geocaching log sheet, and this was the first one that came up. And then you just slice them up, and then you would have a bunch, and you roll them up.
Yep.
So that you can put them right in, whether it's in this nifty little bottle or in a big box.
Yeah. So
And I think I've seen the big boxes sometimes have little notebooks instead of the log.
yeah, if you go to the dollar store, you can get those ZB little notebooks. Those are really nice. And then again, put all this in, maybe of the bigger ones. I'd also put a little pencil in there, like those golf pencils, and make sure it goes inside some kind of like a Ziploc bag, just in case the container itself does fail. Then hopefully the bag and everything inside will be safe.
Right. Now, when you're placing geocache, there are things you have to think about. Whether it's in a safe place, whether it is easily accessible or for most people. You don't want to bury them.
Right, that's the big one.
That's a big one. You don't
Yeah.
bury them. You don't partially bury them.
No.
What other things are you not supposed to do?
Well, yeah, the burying is a big one. Now, there is a rating system from 1 to 5 as far as terrain level. If you're going to do a terrain of 1, that means that it has to be accessible via wheelchair. So that's great to have, like next to a sidewalk, maybe on a lamp post, something that somebody, because this game
Right.
is supposed to be accessible for everyone.
Everybody, yeah.
So if you're going to do a terrain of 1, then make sure it's wheelchair accessible. If for some reason, let's say it's off the beaten path a little bit, and you can walk to it easily, but it's not wheelchair accessible, then I believe you want to use a 1.5. Then that
Okay.
designates to the player that that one is not wheelchair accessible, but it's fairly quite easy. Now, I've seen some geocaches where they actually put them like in the bottom of a lake. Now you need scuba gear, or let's
Well.
say you have to go up the top of a cliff face and there is no trail, so you got to rock climb. That's going to be a terrain of 5. So that's going to be for people who are really into a serious challenge and they have extra skills to get to those particular geocaches. But most of them you're going to find they're going to be between 1.5 to say 4.
So I also heard that there is a geocache on the International Space Station. Would that be a 6 or a 5?
Maybe a 20.
Because I don't know if I'd ever get there.
No, yeah, I don't think most people are going to be able to get that one. I like just to see what it looks like. Maybe on Google we could look it up and just see if there's a picture of it.
Yeah.
But, that's pretty wild. So they're on all, I've been told the geocaches are on all 7 continents and also the International Space Station. So that's pretty crazy.
Now you have to really be dedicated to geocaching to try to look for that one.
Yeah. Okay, so another thing to think about, we just got talking about the terrain rating, that's actually getting to the cache. But then some of the actual caches themselves can be harder to get to ultimately you need to get to the logbook. So some of them can have a difficulty rating of say 1 to 5. Now, something like this pill bottle that we were just talking about earlier, this is going to be a difficulty of 1. You just press down, you open it up, then you're good to go. Something like a Tupperware box, that's pretty simple. You just take the lid off or you unsnap the holders and then you can get in there. So that's not a big deal either. Now, if you really want to get creative, there are certain ones that are called cryptexes that you can get, and you have to figure out a clue to undo it and then it'll pull it apart. Or if you want to get creative, here at the library we actually have a 3D printer. So I went online and I found it's a maze cache. So this barrel has these different grooves on it. So this fits down in here like this. So once this is together, now you found the cache, but now you got to sign the logbook. It's not just a matter of pulling this out and you're done. Now you got to sit here and figure out the puzzle in order to get this apart, so then you can get to the cache or the logbook that's inside. So this might be, technically it could be a terrain level of, let's say, 1, so somebody in a wheelchair could find it,
Right.
Anybody could find it, but the difficulty could be maybe a 4 because unless you're really good at these and you know the exact pattern, it might take you a little while to get this piece out of this piece so that you can actually get to the logbook. So that's another thing to look for.
That's mean.
I'm easy when it comes to this. I like a terrain of 1 or 2 and a difficulty of 1 or 2. Once it gets past that, I don't have the mental capacity to try to do these. But you can, if you do have access to something like that, or you can buy them on the internet, different ones where you need a combination or something in order to unlock it, so that way you can actually get to the logbook.
That's mean. So some of the things they also tell you not to do is place anything that could be construed as bomb-like
Right.
or dangerous. So you got to watch your containers. Also, if you're placing military-looking equipment, you have to cover up all the emblems and everything so people don't think it's
Right.
lost ammunition.
Right. And what some people do is they will, if you're going to use something like an ammo can or something like that, they do make stickers that says this is an official geocache, like do not remove.
So that way, if you are going to use something like one of those military leftover containers, that people don't get too concerned about, and they can read on the side of it very plainly that this is a geocache, not something that it was initially built for.
Right.
So some of the things that you can find, I found in geocaches, and I'm not going to go through all of them, but what I generally do is I'll buy, like I mentioned, like those coins from Amazon, just because if you take something from a geocache, you want to put something back of equal or greater value. That's kind of the rule of thumb. But some of the things that you can put in, and this is just, we're not going to go through all of this, but some of the things I found is like, here's a plastic eyeball.
Ooh.
Here's looking at you. I guess these were a great promotional item from someplace. I found 3 or 4 of these bottle cap openers that go on a keychain. So these carabiners, these are a great one that you can pick up at Walmart really cheap, and this is great for people who might want to put their keys on, something like that, but stuff like that. And then there's even buttons, like for example, the Florida state parks, they're big into geocaching. So wherever you are in your state, wherever you're watching this, check to see with your local state park and see if they have a geocaching program. Chances are they do. This one happened to be, it says Junior Ranger Explore, Learn, and Protect, and this was for the part of the Florida State Park system. So I picked this up so I can move it along to so another kid could get it, or else I'm just a big kid. But anyway, so that's just some of the things that you can get to kind of put in there to get started. Some people even paint rocks.
Right.
That's another big popular hide and seek kind of thing, is the painted rocks with the hashtag on the bottom, so I take a picture of it and then move it to another place.
Kindness rocks, yes. I love them.
So that
They're
makes
fun.
another, so you don't have to spend a lot of money to get into this or to do this. But that's some of the things you can kind of preload the geocache with, and it's not going to corrode or going to give you problems down the road. Because the
Right.
last thing you want is somebody putting on the log. And by the way, every time everybody finds it and you're the cache owner, you're going to get an email or a text or something that says, by the way, so-and-so just found this, and then here's what they said. And they may just put, thanks for the find. They may put a whole paragraph in there about how they've come from some other country, and this was the first one they found in your area. I actually released travel tags, travel bugs, probably about a year or 2 ago. And they left Florida, they went up to New York State, and then they went from New York State to Germany, and now they're all over Germany and the Netherlands.
Wow.
So that's pretty crazy to consider, where this stuff can go.
Maybe someday it'll be on the International Space Station.
It could be.
Well, we hope you have enjoyed the geocaching programs and that you get out there and find something. This is the last of our trio of videos, and now it's time to go out and start looking for them.
Yeah, download the app, get started for free. It's really a great way to just to get out of the couch. I know with everything going on, this is kind of like the first socially distanced game that's been around a
Right.
long time. So you could easily go out to your local park. Don't have to worry, you can be socially distanced apart and go look for geocache. It's a great way to see different parks in your area.
We hope you had a good time, and we hope to see you out there geocaching.
Have a great time.
Bye.
Bye.